Just a quick update for you. Craig Lowndes, we understand, has an engine problem of some sort. The car has developed an intermittent misfire, so the team keeping a close eye on it at the moment.
Yeah, not good news for Ford fans. Craig Lowndes, just have a listen here.
Plenty of heat in your tyres, please, Craig. Plenty of heat in your tyres. Get your brakes up to temperature.
Oscar Fiorinato, Craig's chief engineer, talking to him on the headsets. Trying to get the bottom of this intermittent engine misfire the team may be suffering, but Lowndes is taking his position on the warm-up lap for race 1. Marcus Ambrose, though, the sensation of qualifying in wet conditions. It was something to watch. Jason Bright in second place alongside him. Mark Scape went the wrong way on tyres yesterday, but still wound up on the second row of the grid with David Bernard, the second of those Stone Brothers Fords, in fourth.
What an awesome qualifying session it was. Ingle in fifth, Radicic in sixth, bouncing back from that terror weekend at Adelaide. Kelly seventh, Richards will start from eighth.
Jason Bargwanna, good competitive run in the top 10. And look at Max Wilson, 100% hit rate from the top 15 or top 10 car shootout so far. Greg Murphy just missed the cut yesterday. And Tony Longhurst in the better Ford.
There's Craig Lowndes, position number 13, missed out on the top 10 shootout. Garth Tander, Jason Richards and Stephen Ellery in position 16. You've got Rick Kelly, one of the young Lions, in car 02. Stephen Johnson back in 18. Perkins 19 and John Bow in 20th position.
John Faulkner and Simon Wills on the car 20, or position 22, I should say. Craig Baird and the team Brock Commodore. Rodney Forbes ended up 24.
Paul Wheel sporting a brand new car here this weekend. Paul Romano in 26th. Look where Glenn Seaton is, 27th. Brad Jones is down there in 28th. Now the interesting thing is that all these guys who start this race lower than 25th position will have to go through that nasty thing they're calling pre-qualifying for our next round at Eastern Creek. But before we get there, we've got this one to deal with. Two 34-lap races, 32 cars on the grid. As I mentioned at the top of the show, it's evenly split, this one. 16 Fords, 16 Commodores. We'll have 6 in-car cameras to take you right around one of the fastest free-flowing circuits you'll find in Australia. We'll be on board in car number 17, the Helix Falcon of Stephen Johnson.
Yeah, we've got everything covered here, including Craig Lowndes. That great shot from the dashboard and a number of different angles on board the 00 Motorsport car. Hopefully that intermittent engine problem is not going to haunt him. Can't quite hear it from this angle, Steve. Greg Murphy, I should say, in-car camera, car 51, the KMART Racing Commodore. And Murph unfortunately missed the cut yesterday. He just couldn't get either of these KMART cars working that well in those wet conditions.
This man will take us from position number 5 to start it. The Dunlop camera of Russell Ingle on board the Castrol Perkins Commodore. What a fantastic view that is, right in the back seat. Here's the view from the 4-time series champion, the Holden Racing Team's Mark Scaife. Car number 1 will start from position number 3, and we'll also have a camera on board with this man. He was absolutely electrifying in qualifying. Nerves of steel from Marcus Ambrose, our Strathfield camera, giving you every angle out the back, out the front, and in the middle of the PIRTER Ford. So here they go lining up. Just take a look at the weather conditions here. Beautiful conditions in qualifying. They had to put up with a downpour that came down just as the qualifying session began. It was a combined 50-minute qualifying session, and it was wet all over the shop. There were cars aquaplaning. Well, it couldn't be any different today. Your Ford Race Analysis has us with 32 starters, 150 kilometres. They'll do that twice this afternoon. The pit window opens between laps 2 and 32, and the defending champion here at the island is Mark Scaife. But it's a different story this time around. Holden Racing Team and the Stone Brothers Fords occupy the first 2 rows of the grid.
Well, the Stones really sorted it out in qualifying yesterday. Done some engine development on those Queensland-based Fords, and they've certainly got the chassis sorted out, particularly in wet weather, because they were flying, both David Bernard and Marcus Ambrose, to get themselves up in that top 4. All problems here for...
That's the Ultratune car.
Yeah, Romano.
Paul Romano, car number 24, so it looks as though we're only going to have 31 to get roaring straight up as he pulls all the way down the back of Anthony? Gardner Straight.
I don't know. Right, coming out the rear of the car, is it?
Pretty much sums it up, doesn't it? Well, the sun is shining anyway, and we are ready for a race start. You've got Jason Bright alongside Marcus Ambrose. The power's down. Bright seems to have got the jump as round 2 gets underway. Paul Radicic shot across there as well. This will be interesting into turn 1, and they've already gone off. Oh, that That's an incredible smash to start this race. The Valvoline Cummins Commodore, and they're all over the shop. 6 or 7 cars have gone completely off. That is an amazing start.
Well, Jason Bargwanna, in his most competitive outing for a long time, he didn't get more than 100 metres off the start. He's got out of the Valvoline Cummins car, gives a wave to the crowd, but that's the second time Jason Bargwanna has crunched that tyre wall on the pit straight. We saw him in trouble in the rain a couple of years back. There's the Valvoline Cummins team watching on nervously. Gary Rogers, the team boss, in there, and they'll be very glad to see Jason walking out of that car unscathed. But what a massive crash. Red flags out, race has been stopped. No surprise there.
Keep your eyes on the left-hand side of the screen. The Shell Helix Ford is covering him at the moment. All of a sudden, Bargwanna gets squeezed out to his right. Wham! Upside down to start round 2.
Well, he got tapped by another car. I couldn't see which one it was in the pack there. But he was heading in a straight direction, and suddenly the car jagged right. So there's been some contact in the middle of the pack.
Look who went off. That's Rodney Forbes in front. See if he gets that tyre wall down there.
Just kissed it, I think.
Yeah, just finished on the edge of those tyres. Looks as though Stephen Johnson. This is another angle of this opening crash. I mean, you're only going 100 metres from the start-finish line there, and all of a sudden, Jason Bargwanna is on his head.
It's completely ripped the rear axle assembly out of that car. You could see it sitting on the road behind the wreck.
Bargwanna and Greg Murphy just about coming to blows in pit lane. Temperatures at boiling point. It's around 160, 170 kilometres per hour. Now, just underneath the Dunlop sign, they've gone through there. Keep your eyes on the 2 cars at the right of the track. Greg Murphy is behind. Jason Bargwanna is in front. And from this point on, Bargwanna becomes a passenger in this 600 horsepower car, and it's heading straight for the wall.
Yeah, the interesting thing too, when you just look up in front of where Bargwanna hits, here he comes now, drills the bank, rolls it over. But there was a very similar incident just up ahead of them between Marcus Ambrose and Paul Radicic. Radicic was trying to run down the inside of the PIRTER Ford. They came very close. Radicic pulled his nose out of that one as they ran down to turn 1. So it could have been a double catastrophe there.
So what happens now is we get ready for a race restart, but these guys will start from pit lane. Trouble for Neil Crompton, Paul Wheel and Mark Larkham. The deal is they'll restart the race and do all 34 laps, but of course there will be somebody missing from the grid. Jason Bargwanna had position number 9 on the grid, and just to run you through exactly where Greg Murphy was in all of that, he started on position number 11. The other interesting thing that got lost in all of that mess and chaos was that Marcus Ambrose, who had pole position, really got the jump taken out of him at the start by Jason Bright, not only by Bright, but also Mark Scaife, and Paul Radicic was up there as well. So second time around for Marcus Ambrose. Can he hold on to pole position? There's Greg Murphy in the KMART Commodore. You can just imagine the adrenaline that's running through him. As you saw, the temperatures really running overboard there with Jason Bargwanna. Thankfully, there's quite a few people down in pit lane, and they separated the 2 before it got way too ugly. Restart for race 1. 34 laps in front of them. Hopefully they can all get through without any trouble. On the right-hand side of screen is Jason Bright. On the left is our pole sitter, Marcus Ambrose. It's Ford versus Holland on the front row of the grid. Green light, we're racing again. A nice even start. Bright looks to have the power though. They'll head down to turn 1, an extremely quick right-hander that is doing corner. Look at the dirt being flicked up, and Ambrose gets through. Bright and Scaife go side to side. Thankfully, no dramas as yet. They go through that sweeping right-hander. Now onto the southern loop. This is lap 1 of 34 to go. Already incidents are plenty to start round 2 of the V8 Supercar Championship.
Fantastic sight there as they sweep round Bass Strait. In the background, Marcus Ambrose, though, he did a much better job on the restart. Mark Scaife did well to jump off the second row to get up into second place, jumped his teammate, and he's right up behind the leading Ford now.
Paul Radicic snuck up right behind Mark Scaife there as well. That's Simon Wills in the Cat Ford car number 600. They're coming around turn 5. This is Siberia. They'll now work it up towards turn 6 and the hay shed. I can tell you the hay shed is now currently housing Jason Bargwanna's car. It was taken over there like a rag doll on the back of a truck. They're having a good hard look at it. And Garth Tanner in the other Valvoline Cummins Commodore. Oh, that's just shattering news.
That wheel's coming off. The rear axle assembly looks okay. Looks like the wheel hasn't been attached properly. Meanwhile, back at the front, Marcus Ambrose, Mark Scaife, Ford versus Holden. All of a sudden, the Ford fans have something to cheer about. Leading this one as they punch out of here up toward the final turn onto the main straight. 200 kilometres an hour on the approach. Marcus Ambrose with Mark Scaife in his mirrors. Out onto the Gardner Straight for the first 34 laps the distance.
Let's see what type of times they're posting here. A 1:41.241 for Marcus Ambrose. Mark Scaife in second. Bright behind him. Radicic in fourth. David Bernard in fifth. Todd Kelly sixth. Ingle seventh. Stephen Richards eighth. Greg Murphy ninth. And Max Wilson, the Brazilian, in 10th position. I tell you what, you want to remove all sharp implements from Gary Rogers Motorsport Garage right now, because this weekend is a horror weekend for them.
Two Fords running strongly here. Radicic, you can see him, he could have been involved in a similar incident to Jason Bargwanna there. Managed to pull the nose back so there was no collision between himself and Ambrose, and he lives to fight another day. David Bernard, strong position here now. A bit of a swap of positions. Russell Ingall gets taken by his teammate Stephen Richards under brakes. Out of Honda corner. KMART car wants to argue as well. Down through Siberia, Greg Murphy and the Castrol Commodores running close. It's going to be fascinating to watch this race as we go. Looking at the back of the Castrol Commodore, at car 51, Greg Murphy involved in that first lap accident. Dunlop camera tells the story as they sweep up over Lukey Heights.
And looking at position number 9, Greg Murphy currently holding down a top 10 position. Ingle is in 8th, and Stephen Richards has the jump on him. Murphy cuts on the inside at MG, but Ingle shuts him out. Almost 2 laps completed. Mark said they're pushing 200 kilometres an hour. Here's Garth Tander coming into the pit lane.
They're endeavouring to fix this right rear wheel, but it's really got them perplexed, guys. They're not sure why the wheel came off.
Look at the amount of aluminium swarf just floating around there. That wheel has been destroyed. Everyone will have their fingers crossed now. So this has been a bad start for the Gary Rogers Motorsport operation. Jason Bargwanna's car totaled. Garth Tander, wheel falling off early. Oh, look how sideways Marcus Ambrose gets, feeling the pressure from the Holden Racing team number 1.
Whether by fault or design, the Gary Rogers Motorsport camp is just attracting controversy left, right and centre. Garth Tander involved in the safety car incident back at Adelaide. He finished 3rd overall and got 280 points on the board. Now Jason Bargwanna involved in a tangle, and Mark Scaife just gets locked out by Marcus Ambrose around turn 4.
Ambrose wants to fight. There's a real fight here, not only amongst Ford teams against the Holden teams, but amongst the Ford teams themselves. Ford boss Jeff Pilates has said, we want one of your teams to stand up and be the HRT fighter. And I tell you what, they're pretty pumped up in the Stone Brothers team operation these days. They want that mantle.
And there was your PlayStation race score, taking you through positions 10 right down to 18. Craig Lowndes, a good mover. And that looks like...
that's the Team Kiwi car.
Kiwi car of Jason Richards gone off.
That's a shame, because he had his best qualifying performance, outstanding to qualify 15th yesterday in those wet conditions. This guy really flies when the track gets wet. But now problems here. Fortunately, he's been able to get away. The car's still running.
Panel damage to the right rear end of Jason Richards' car. As we go on board the PIRTER Ford Falcon out of the Stone Brothers Racing Camp. Marcus Ambrose.
First lap was a 34.7. His second fly is a 35 neat. Scaife just up behind his bumper. Bright's going with him. Radicic is the first of the cars running in the 36s. So Marcus Ambrose in the opening laps of this race matching the pace of the Holden Racing team. The big question will be, with 34 laps here, no one's really run a sustained race pace on these tyres around Phillip Island, particularly in dry conditions. So who's going to play poker with the endurance of these tyres? That's what's going to be fascinating.
Well, if these two shoot ahead, we're in for one hell of a battle between two of the hardest chargers in the field, no doubt about it. Jason Bright's a little bit of a distance behind, and up on the top left-hand side of your screen is the speed of Marcus Ambrose's car. We'll take you through around this part of the circuit at 107 kilometres an hour as he dips it into Siberia and now starts working uphill. 170, 180, right up towards 200 clicks an hour. Wait until you see just how hard he has to jump on the brakes as they bring it over Lukey Heights, almost disappear into the sunset, but the car sticks to the tarmac. This is it, coming over the hill now. Such a sharp drop. Look at that. The pace goes all the way down to 76 kilometres per hour. Now he starts the power down yet again. He's got Mark Scaife in his rear view mirror all over the back of the PIRTER Ford, and maximum speed 200 kilometres an hour as he comes into the sweeping left-hander that is Gardner Straight. Up along here, it's 6th gear, flat strap all the way. 250 odd Ks, probably up towards 270.
Really is Mr. Smooth, Marcus Ambrose. You saw him in that qualifying yesterday in those wet conditions, really caressing the car along. He knew the tyres wouldn't come in until he'd done about 2/3 of a lap. So he just eased it along, let the car do all the work, and then he really got stuck into it in the final turn. He's a very clever driver, and he's really showing he's more than a match here for the Holden Racing team. 134.94.
This is what happened to the 25-year-old Kiwi. That's at the Southern Loop, so turn 2. A little bit of a tangle with the Brock car of Craig Baird. Oh, he just found the wrong part of that section, didn't he? The wrong part of the tyre wall he found. Jason Richards gets
coming out of Siberia.
Right-hand side. Oh.
Well, there was John Bowers on the inside there too. It might have been a domino effect from one car on the inside. Then you get 3 cars leaning on each other. Anything can happen. Unfortunately, Jason Richards, the recipient. But look at this battle. This is hot stuff. Marcus Ambrose and Mark Scaife. Scaife is trying, and he's trying hard. You can see the little bit of attitude on the car. It slips and slides. Every now and again, you know he's driving very, very hard. Pushing Ambrose right to the limit. Here's Brad Jones coming in for his stop. We've got their compulsory tyre change out of the way early. Pit window between laps 2 and laps 32 for the compulsory tyre change. But this battle is a corker.
Just until yesterday, only Mark Scaife, Craig Lowndes and Glenn Seaton had pole position in between the V8 battle over the last 10 years here at Phillip Island. Well, Marcus Ambrose joined them, and in doing so, became the first Ford to grab pole position in the championship since back at Bathurst last season. And guess who had pole back there? Marcus Ambrose in the PIRTER Ford.
Good consistent times from the PIRTER Ford driver so far. 134.89. Mark Scaife has the fastest lap of the race. Look at this gaggle of cars back here, led by Max Wilson. This is the battle just outside the top 10. Look how hot and furious it is here. 8-9 cars involved. Stephen Johnson in there, Lowndes in there too. Stephen Ellery, John Bow. There's the Holden Racing Young Lions Commodore, driven by Rick Kelly. He's been impressive this weekend. The Castrol Commodore, Larry Perkins, John Faulkner, Simon Wills in there too. Look at how many cars are running bumper to bumper here.
Great to see Stephen Ellery in there in the super cheap auto car. There it is right there, right up alongside Craig Lowndes as they come down towards Honda. And Stephen Ellery, after such a hell of a weekend at Adelaide, didn't race on the Sunday. He was involved in a fairly sizable shunt on Saturday, but he did get some points on the board. That was the important thing for him. Physically, he's okay, a little bit sore. The car suffered so much major damage, he couldn't believe when they looked under the hood to see how much the engine had moved across in that shunt. The engine actually went the opposite way to the body that Stephen Ellery did. So Jason Wright comes down on Lukey Heights and gets in front of Neil Crompton.
Crompton goes down a lap. There must be problems there with those 00 Motorsport Fords because Lowndes is back as well. We heard he may have had an intermittent misfire. Fastest lap of the race so far to Scaife at 134.64. Let's watch as they come across the start-finish line this time around because Ambrose has been very consistent. 135 dead, Scaife at 135.09. So these two are really punching out some quick, consistent times here.
Robbie Starr has been on the radio to Mark Scaife telling him, be patient, this is a long race. There's dramas for Paul Radicic as well. His gear shifter has come loose in some way in the number 18 Shell Helix 4. The team have said to him, press on, whatever you do.
And that's just all that Paul Radicic needs after his weekend at Adelaide. There were so many casualties from Adelaide. I mean, it's a hell of a weekend. It's a long, hard slog, the Clipsal 500. It's even harder when you're Paul Radicic and you have to rebuild the car once overnight. Then he didn't finish, and then they had to rebuild it again in between that race and this one. Marcus Ambrose still has the edge over Mark Scaife at the moment, although Scaife has the fastest time. A couple of cars coming into pit lane now. Remember, the pit window is open. Stephen Johnson's in.
Few drivers choosing to take their stops early. Only 6 laps completed in that 34 lap race, and as I said, there's a bit of guessing going on here. No one's been able to run a sustained race distance on these new Dunlop control tyres at Phillip Island.
Okay, mate, go. Pit lane's clear. Don't forget to turn your pit lane button off when you get to the end there.
So it'll be interesting to see the relative tyre performance of these cars, particularly those leading cars of Ambrose and Holden Racing Team. It's going to be fascinating.
The pit lane limiter that you heard the teams talking about, a little switch in the car, puts him back to first gear, and Glenn Seaton Swapping a bit of paint. The Ultra-Tune car of Paul Romano, who had some problems before the first start of this race. So Paul Romano has managed to get back out there. Glenn Seaton has had all sorts of problems across the weekend. Qualified in 27th position. So if you think ahead to Eastern Creek, he's going to have to go through pre-qualifying.
Look at this squeeze down the inside. John Faulkner moves up a position on John Bow. This is the battle for 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th. Right down. Craig Lowndes now under attack from Stephen Ellery in the Super Cheap Autos car. He gets one up, picks up another position.
Ambrose drops back into position number 2. He held the lead for 10 laps.
Okay, Marcus.
1:35.28 for Scaife when he got clear road. 1:36.1 for Ambrose. I think the Stone Brothers team are setting up for a change. And this is a bit earlier on. Contact between Stephen Ellery and Max Wilson. It was just on the approach to Lukey Heights, just around near the hay shed there. Fast part of the racetrack. Wilson gets back into the battle. Ellery, not sure whether he's okay. He's parked up there, he hasn't hit anything. Let's have a look at the replay of that incident. Well, there have been 3 cars involved there. So Rick Kelly taking evasive action in the Holden Young Lions. Commodore, everyone had to spread which way to get around it. Oh!
There's John Faulkner.
Faulkner too has just recently retired. Let's have a look at this. Well, Super Cheap Autos car got stuck under the bumper of the Better Electrical Ford. All hell breaks loose. And everyone manages to pick their way. Unfortunately, John Faulkner, though, made contact as he came back onto the track. Damaged. The Dynapack Bolt is out of the race.
Out the front of the race, though, is this man, Mark Scaife. He waited until 10.5 laps before he put the move on Ambrose, and he must have, because Jason Bright has gone in front. So Ambrose decides to pit now.
Okay. Critical stop this for the Stone Brothers team. 40km/h speed limit on the PIRTER Ford. It's a long, long crawl down pit lane. You can see, Russell Ingall said you feel like you could just about jump out and walk faster than this.
Going away this ball, or my rear, something. Okay.
I'll just keep quiet here and let you hear the pit conversations on the radio.
Good job out there, mate. Just keep moving, keep pressing on. We'll be still there at the finish.
Good stop so far, 7 seconds. The average stops have been around about 11.5. Marcus does it in just on 10 seconds, so a good stop from the PIRTER crew. Now, one point of interest for you guys. Have a word to some of the team from Dunlop. They're telling me it could get quite interesting towards the end of this race in terms of the tyres and tyre life. Because it was wet yesterday, not everyone has had a decent chance to put some solid heat cycles through their slick tyres.
Yeah, that's the big question mark, because that's true. A lot of people haven't had a chance to do any sort of decent race distance running around here. And the cornering loads are enormous on tyres. Very much a match for the run across the top of Mount Panorama. It's very, very hard, very high speed stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see how these Dunlop control tyres hang in toward the end of this race. Mark Scaife, your race leader. Team Kiwi car getting rebuilt for race 2. Hopefully they can get that one fixed for the second race, because it was a great qualifying performance, their best performance so far. The 8 Supercar Racing Team Kiwi, so they're continually climbing up the ladder of performance. And that's a real shame. I'm sure they'll be able to get it back together. Here's our race leader, Mark Scaife, 1:35.60. Bright at 1:35.39. Ambrose dropping out of this battle. So it's going to be interesting to see Scaife watch his times, remain consistent, when they're going to bring him in.
Just take it through the top 10 at the moment. Remember, Marcus Ambrose has just pitted, so you've got Scaife on top, Bright, then Kelly and Murphy. Stephen Richards, position 5. Ingall 6th. 7th is Tony Longhurst. Rick Kelly in position number 8, and John Bow and Craig Lowndes round out your top 10. You saw the damage done as Paul Radicic comes in, the damage done to Team Kiwi car. Nothing like the damage done to Jason Bargwanna, and I can tell you that, although it's been a hell of a weekend for Bargs, get to you in a second, because we've got a pit report here from Greg Rust.
This is taking a little longer, this stop. The front right going on now. Already 11 seconds have passed for Paul Radicic. Bear in mind, too, he's got a gear selection problem. The gear selector has come a little bit loose, the team say. They're telling him just keep on going.
Thank you, Rusty. I was just going to get to Jason Bargwanna, who's joined us in the commentary box after that incredible incident. You haven't seen it yet, but you had the best view of any of us. What happened?
How we going, fellas?
I think we're going a lot better than you are.
What happened? Well, I mean, obviously got off the line, not too bad actually, but Murph decided to just drive into the back of me. I moved over to cover my position, but he continued to push into the back of me, and yeah, I don't know what happened. I haven't seen it.
It was a massive, massive accident.
I remember biting my tongue and seeing a lot of glass spraying everywhere. That was about it.
It's the second time you've drilled a car into that wall.
Thanks for that.
Injury-wise, you're pretty good. I mean, they've checked you out.
Okay, yeah. Look, I've been up to the medical centre and I feel quite good, but you know, it was unfortunate, and it means we're going to sit out the rest of the day, obviously.
Oh, look at this contact between Russell Ingall and Stephen Richards, the teammates. Under brakes into Honda corner. There'll be some discussion in the Castrol pit after that. Let's have a look at this again from Ingall's viewpoint.
Yeah, wouldn't you love to be in the transporter after this one? It's obviously...
Had everything locked up, did he?
Yeah, Richo's obviously decided to look after the rear tyre there by slowing the car down a little bit, but Russell's tried to keep pushing through, but yeah, not very good.
That was at turn number 4, back out in front as we're on board. Lap 14 of 34, and Mark Scaife is now starting to pull away from the rest of the field. His best time, a 1:34.643. Well, we saw what happened, Bugs, with the incident in the car. We also saw what happened, the incident with Greg Murphy as well. I mean, by that stage, your blood was pretty much boiling.
Oh, yeah, look, if anyone wants to try and kill me, they can, you know, expect me to be pushing back. I mean, I just went up to speak to Greg and explain to him that I wasn't very happy.
Here's a critical stop.
General stop, mate.
With Mark Scaife, the race leader, coming in for his compulsory tyre change. 13 laps completed into lap 14. This will be a critical stop for the Holden Racing team. Ambrose is really making hay while the sun is shining. Fastest lap of the race so far, 1:34.60. That's his first flying lap since he came out of the pits. Tyres getting up to temperature. So he'll be trying to make
I've got to tell you guys, that entry into pit lane is just the longest time ever. I mean, it's 40 k's an hour and it is so slow.
The cars just sound so sick, don't they, when you bubble them back to first gear, and they're just, I mean, it's almost as though they're just going to kick themselves out and stop.
You see Russell here as well. I mean, you're trying to push the throttle pedal harder to go up motor to go a bit quicker, but obviously it's not going anywhere. So, yeah, it's just a long period, and you can see the cars going past you on the straight. They're obviously going very quick. It's very frustrating.
Remember, Marcus Ambrose did his pit stop in about 9.6 seconds, so Mark Scaife goes in and out in 11.4 seconds, so 2 seconds the difference there. And now the leaderboard will start to change. Jason Bright currently has the provisional first position. Todd Kelly and Greg Murphy in 2 and 3, but Ambrose is the charger.
He got past, he got the overlap in the pit stop, so now Mark Scaife is the chaser. There he is. So this is going to be a fascinating battle toward the end of this one. Marcus Ambrose swept past while Mark Scaife was in pit lane. We'll just get a readout on the timing monitor what the gap is between these two, and we'll watch it like hawks, because that's the story of the race. By the time all these compulsory stops have taken place, you'll find Marcus Ambrose should be the race leader. He's running back in about 11th spot at the moment.
Main reason that the stop took a little longer, would you believe it, the mechanic operating the right rear tyre dropped the wheel nut, which is a little odd. The new system that HRT have got is pretty foolproof, and it reduces the amount of steps in this whole pit stop process, but unfortunately it fell, and as a consequence the stop was a little bit longer.
So Marcus Ambrose.
That'd be interesting to see whether it actually went out of the pit bay there. They might get a black flag for that one. Oh, my mate.
Greg Murphy comes into pit lane as well, car number 51, so he was in 5th position as he pulled in there.
Race leader is still Jason Bright, Todd Kelly in 2nd, Stephen Richards in 3rd, Rick Kelly, Holden Young Lions in 4th. Murphy's just peeled off.
Go. Get ready for Todd.
Pretty quick stop, 8.5 seconds. John Bowen, the Aussie male Falcon, comes in behind him as well. It's an eternity from start to finish at pit lane when you're going 40 kilometres an hour, especially when you get back out onto Gardner Straight and take on turn 1 at 200 plus an hour.
Yeah, I've looked at every right-hand rear tyre that's come off of every car, and there doesn't seem to be a tyre problem. You know, the tyres look really good and could have done a lot more laps. So I think where everybody was worrying because they hadn't done much running in the dry, it looks like the old Dunlops are standing up great.
Yeah, they've been impressive so far, haven't they, Baz? Marcus Ambrose is now in 8th, Mark Scaife in 9th. They're moving up the order, but they'll effectively be our race leaders because all the cars in front of them are yet to make their compulsory stops. Jason Bright leading this one, Todd Kelly, Stephen Richards, Rick Kelly, Larry Perkins, Max Wilson, Paul Romano, and then Marcus Ambrose in 8th, Scaife in 9th. That really is going to be the battle for the lead once all these compulsory stops are out of the way.
Great to see Rick Kelly back in action. He was pretty sick down in Adelaide, couldn't start the second race and couldn't finish the first race. The enduro took its toll on somebody who's only a small fella, and he had the flu as well. Everything got to him. This is Paul Radicic in car number 18. The best time, a 1:35.829. He's currently in position number 12.
So what do you do now, Bart? Is that car a write-off, or you don't know till you strip it down and stick it on the jig?
Oh, look, no, I haven't really seen it that much. I walked away and had a bit of a quick look at it, but it certainly doesn't look very happy, I've got to tell you. But I mean, fortunately, we have got a spare car sitting in the workshop, and it's the old Bathurst car, so it's probably not a bad one to have to use if we need a spare car. But look, we have to get back and analyse it and go from there.
R16, Stephen Richards was running right up the order now. Coming in for his compulsory stop, Rick Kelly. Holden Young Lions car in as well. This is the battle of the pit crews. Holden Young Lions team operator. Oh, problems at the back. Left, hasn't gone on properly. Up on the jacks, that's a costly mistake. The pressure was on. Get out in front of the Castrol car. Now they get it sorted.
Unfortunately for Rick, he stalled the car too on the way out, so that stop went for a good 25 odd seconds. That's a tough stop for Rick Kelly.
So the tyre's still rubbing too. There's something wrong here. Smoke pouring from that left rear tyre.
Car number 02 of Rick Kelly comes in for a messy pit stop and it leaves with smoke pouring out the rear left.
Well, there may have been damage done to that bodywork when the car dropped down on that wheel that wasn't properly put on. The big question mark will be with whether that will get out of the way and not necessarily cut the tyre. There's a fair bit of rubbing going on there at the moment, though.
Pit stops are coming into play now as we pass the halfway mark of race 1. You've got Marcus Ambrose. Right behind him is Mark Scaife. All the major players have been in and out of the pits, and these two resume their battle at the front. Ambrose has been holding off Scaife. Comparatively speaking, across the times, they're pretty much going neck and neck. So we're looking at a sprint finish for race 1. There's your PlayStation 2 race score. 7th position, Tony Longhurst. 10th, Cameron McConville. Now, he qualified in 31st position and also had to go through pre-qualifying just to get on the starting grid. So a great effort from Cameron McConville. Now, they come into some traffic. That's Paul Will moves aside. And Marcus Ambrose continues this hell of a scrap out the front with Mark Scaife.
Oh, this is gripping stuff. This really is. Just watching Ambrose fighting off this attack from Scaife. Scaife's found 5/10 on one lap. He found 3/10 on another lap. But since he's got within half a second of Ambrose, Ambrose has responded and responded well. They're matching lap times now. Last time around, Ambrose was just 1/10 of a second faster than Scaife. The lap previous, Scaife was a little bit faster than him. So this is a real neck-and-neck struggle.
6 laps to go to complete race 1. Marcus Ambrose. And there's Mark Scaife's last 5 laps, as Mark was talking about. Let's look at the change in those times from lap 24 to lap 28.
5 laps to go as we call Paul Foggy. Marcus Ambrose, chief mechanic. Nervous moment for both these teams in the pit lane, but all of a sudden, someone has stood up to take up the fight to Holden Racing Team. Here's the 4 times champion, Mark Scaife, under pressure at Phillip Island. This has been a happy hunting ground for the factory Holden team for many, many years. And now this Queensland squad have come down from the north and they're really applying some pressure here. Marcus Ambrose, every bit a match for the Holden Racing Team, Commodore.
Oh, isn't it a great fight? The 25-year-old Ambrose against the 34-year-old Scaife. You've got Ambrose in his 2nd full season of V8 supercar racing. Scaife was, as we know, a 4-time series champ, his 16th year of touring cars. Ambrose, one of the coolest customers in the field, and Scaife, one of the toughest competitors you'll find in Australian motorsport history.
We've had a quick look at some of the times that the teams have done for their varying stops. Marcus Ambrose, a 9.4 seconds, the quickest we can gather, is Greg Murphy at around 8.6 seconds. The TWR crews have done their stops in just about in the 9-second bracket, excepting Scaife and Rick Kelly, of course. That minor moment for the mechanic operating on Scaife's car cost around about 2 seconds, so there's maximum pressure on for the crews down here in pit lane. Very quick point for you as well. Cameron McConville, excellent effort up to 10th. He was one of the first teams to pit, so he's been out there the longest on a set of Dunlop tyres. It doesn't seem to be slowing up Cameron McConville's progress.
A little bit of traffic for Mark Scaife coming around the southern loop. Paul Romano just caught on his inside there, so the race score tells the story at the moment. Stone Brothers racing in front, then the two HRT cars. Greg Murphy follows them, and David Bernard, the other Stone Brothers Ford Falcon, is in position number 5 at the moment.
Starting to hit some lap traffic. This could make or break this race. Whoever picks these gaps properly could get a really good advantage toward the end of this one. Maximum pressure. You can imagine everyone around this pit, Ford fans, the Holden fans, fingers crossed. Just could hear a pin drop out there. Everyone is just so thrilled watching this battle, one up the other. Look at the way they come up through this traffic over Lukey Heights. Mark Scaife carrying the Victoria Bitter in-car camera, giving you a great view of this battle. Marcus Ambrose, he's never won a race. There's his team manager, Ross Stone, watching on nervously. Ross was talking to him yesterday in the pits. He said, yep, the ultimate goal is to beat HRT, but first you've got to start putting pressure on them. Try and push them into a mistake. Well, there's pressure here. Oh, there's his teammate, David Bernard. He's had a bit of a run-off down at Honda Corner. Bernard was running competitively up in 5th spot. He may have dropped a position there.
I think he has. He also qualified in 4th position, and you talked about pressure. Well, a bit of a reverse on that from the Stone Brothers, because now Mark Scaife is putting pressure on Marcus Ambrose. Scaife has been in the rear vision mirror of Marcus Ambrose for so many laps now.
Oh, he's got a flat tire. You can hear Marcus Ambrose talk to his crew. I think he said, I can't see it on the screen, Marcus. He thinks he may have a flat tyre. There must be something changing in the handling. Oh, Scaife gives him a big hit up the back. Under brakes into Honda Corner. Ambrose still continuing to defend, but you could hear that message to his team. If they've got a flat tyre, look at the damage on the front of the Holden Racing Team Commodore now.
David Klein, Mike, David Klein.
Robbie Starr, chief mechanic for Mark Scaife, telling his driver,
It doesn't look flat, Marcus.
They're telling him that the tyre doesn't look flat, but Marcus is certain that there's definitely some sort of problem there in the PIRTER racer. The big winner out of this scuffle could be Jason Bright. He's sitting in 3rd position at the moment.
Just keep it going.
Paul Forgy urging his driver on. Keep it going, Marcus. Keep it going. He's yet to score a victory in a V8 Supercar Championship race. He would absolutely love to bring this one home for not only the Stone Brothers team, but the long-suffering Ford teams around the country who have just been copping a mauling from Holden, and particularly the Holden Racing Team for so many years, waiting for someone to step up to the plate. Is this the man, Marcus Ambrose? He's still got a long way to go. Barry Sheen down there in the pits, ready to talk to Ross Stone. All they can do is sit there and wait. It's all up to Marcus Ambrose now.
He's won a round, but never a race. He won back at Darwin last year in the 2001 Supercar Series, but still hasn't posted a race win. He's had this one pretty much in the bag for the last 15 or so laps. Look how close Mark Scaife is. The HRT Commodore, panel damage to the front, maybe a little bit more.
This will be the coming of age for Marcus Ambrose if he can bring this one home. This is the most pressure you're ever going to feel in V8 Supercar competition. The 4 times champion and reigning champion, giving it everything he's got, trying to find a way. He goes to the outside, under brakes into Honda turn. Ambrose well positioned on the inside. We go on board with the Holden Racing Team Commodore. Fantastic stuff.
He's held him off again. Marcus Ambrose continues to hold off this incredible challenge from Mark Scaife. Car 4 versus car 1. There's so much experience in car number 1 and so much rookie enthusiasm in the car in front of him. Marcus Ambrose is doing everything he can to hold on to a race victory.
Chief mechanic Paul Forgy cheering him on there on the headsets, giving him every word of encouragement he can possibly give him. Right up the inside, Scaife applying maximum pressure here. Under brakes, they plunge down into MG, and Ambrose moves over to cover his line once again.
The right-hander, turn number 8, leads onto the sweeping left-hander, which is turn number 9. They're hitting maximum speed as they come around up Gardner Straight, fingernails going at a rate of knots in pit lane.
Look at the Holden Racing Team there. George Smith, Dencar, the men who build the Holden Racing Team chassis, nervously watching on. Escape on the outside. Ambrose looks like he's struggling for grip here. He's struggling for grip here because Scaife is all over, and now he's just going to drive a defensive line.
Scaife has a look down the left-hand side. This is Doohan Corner, an incredibly fast sweeping right-hander. Ambrose holds him out there as well. Scaife up on the inside, but Ambrose refuses to give in. Little bit of contact maybe into the southern loop.
Last lap, less than 4.4 kilometres of racing. The Ford and Holden fans are going mad along pit straight. Unbelievable moment. 39.55 and 39.35 for Scaife. These two have been locked in a battle. Sometimes their best lap times down to 1/10,000th of a second difference. Look at Scaife. Another attack on the outside, but Ambrose well positioned on the inside for the exit from Honda turn. Plenty of fisticuffs here, but they're keeping it nice and clean. Only that collision under brakes. The only time they swap paint in this absorbing battle. Can Marcus Ambrose do it? Can he bring it home?
Up towards turn number 6 now. Wow, the final stages. This is the busy part of the track. They're dancing all over the throttle and brake. The right-hander, which is turn number 6. The hay shed on their left. This is the interesting part of the circuit. This is the final part of the circuit for these two, as they've staged just a knock-up fight.
Ambrose will dive down the inside under brakes. Scaife tries to go a little bit deeper. Ambrose, though, equal. What can Scaife do here on the exit? He's going to try and hold him on the inside, but Ambrose has got him blocked. Final turn. Has he got enough grip left in this PIRTER Ford to hold out the racing team Commodore? It's going to be a drag to the start-finish line. He's opened up a car length on Scaife.
And look who's there as well. Jason Bright comes alongside to put a little bit more pressure on turn number 10, the final turn. It's been punch and counter-punch. You've got Marcus Ambrose gets his first race win in V8 Supercar Championship history. Jason Bright has snuck up and stolen second position from his teammate Mark Scaife.
You're the greatest. Absolute greatest.
Well, he's saying the crew are the greatest, but Jason Bright just got in front of Mark Scaife at the end there. There's George Smith. Cannot believe it. The Holden Racing team, what a thrilling race.
Absolutely incredible. Marcus Ambrose, such a cool customer. You said it, Mark, come of age right there.
Look at this replay.
Take a look at the finish. Also between the two Holden Racing team Commodores on the outside there, Jason Bright just gets his nose in front of the damaged nose of Mark Scaife and sneaks into second position. What an incredible finish. I told you the Ford Holden battle is well and truly alive, and as a matter of fact,
they've just corrected the
timing. That's bizarre, isn't it? Even as we were speaking there, taking you through that replay, the timing board has been adjusted.
Well, we're being told that the official word is Scaife second, you're third, but boy, what a finish. It was a photo, wasn't it?
Yeah, the car was sort of coming on strong at the end there. We struggled with balance sort of most of the race, but we're able to sort of hang on to our tyres a little bit better than those guys, I think, and we're a little bit stronger that last couple of laps, but a little bit frustrating that we sort of caught the couple of back markers at the same time.
That mean that you've got the balance right, you think, for race 2?
Yeah, I think we'll probably have to make some changes. You know, we certainly haven't got the pace at the moment the other two have got, so I think we're probably chasing our tail a little bit, but at the moment we'll sort of make a couple of changes and see how we go.
I think we'll be in for another frantic one. Good luck.
Should be a good one. Cheers.